Good morning to you all. My name is Mavis Braga Elias, and today I just want to share with you my life story. If anything, I hope that you'll be able to derive from this that you can be anything you put your mind to. And my speech for today is titled The Multi-Versatile Ambivert, right? So let's get straight into it. When I was in school, long before I walked into the doors of university, I was the student who teachers could not quite figure out. I was head of the History Society and a debater. I was academically strong and very focused on my schoolwork. Yet, I too was a student who was far too outspoken, and half the time you just wish you would stop talking. In my opinions, I would cross boundaries, which later had me classified a problematic student. I was a mixture that was borderline good student and bad student. This became the basis on which I later gained my first award, which was Most Versatile Student in high school. I then entered the doors of university with a chip on my shoulders, always so ready to fight anybody who tried to box me. I was dealing with the confusion of never truly fitting in, and having entered the gates of the Namibia University of Science and Technology made it all the worse, as I was here to study civil engineering. I did not look, perhaps still do not look, like what the world had come to define what an engineer should look like. I recall the very first time I stood up in a crowded room and I was asked the question, "What do you want to become when you grow up?" I said proudly and with a smile on my face, "An engineer." And I was met with laughter and people mocked me because they said, "Girls like you do not become engineers." And I never truly understood what they meant by a girl like me because to date, it has not been explained to me. I enrolled to study civil engineering and was so intimidated by the male-dominated field that I hatched up a plan of action. I decided in my first year of engineering that I would enter the radio industry, and this was because I wanted to learn two things. The first is I wanted to improve my vocabulary and ensure that I was eloquent in speech. This, I decided, was step one to ensuring that when I step into a male-dominated field or room, I would at least be able to articulate myself well. The second thing is I wanted to learn how to withstand strong personalities. I was of the idea that engineering rooms would be filled with big, muscular men who are intimidating with huge personalities. I decided that the radio industry would be the perfect place to practice because it is filled with similar big personalities. This is how my career in radio started. I worked for Radio Energy for 4 whole years while I was studying engineering. Now, 2 years into studying engineering, I was to turn 21. I asked myself, what have I achieved on earth in my 21 years of existence? If I was to die at that point in my life, what would people have to say about me? I was concerned with living an impactful life. I wanted to ensure that my life meant something, not from a place of self-gratification, but from a place of ensuring that everything my parents had planted in me would bear fruit, and that I'd see out my aspirations and burning passions. I spent 6 months organizing my first charity fundraiser and fun day. I went from door to door asking for donations. My tenacity would not let me give up, and I ensured that I pulled it off before my 21st birthday, which I did. What I did not know at the time was that that one single moment and thought that drove me to execute my first charity event would become a defining moment for the rest of my life. It was from that one event that everything that I today am and all the accolades that I have received in the social welfare sector stem from. As the years progressed, I founded a charity organization called the EM Love Foundation. The foundation is today 6 years old and has done over the years tremendous work in 6 different towns in the country and has a team of over 120 volunteers. It accorded me the opportunity to meet the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, as a Queen's Young Leader Award winner. As a follow-on to that, I was also awarded the Pan-African Award in the social welfare sector. I have gone on to receive some amazing accolades for the work done in the social welfare sector. These awards stem from my decision to step out of my comfort and do what my heart truly desires. However, in all that I do, it has at no single point ever been about the recognition that stems from the work that I do. It has always been about ensuring that everything I do is impact-driven. I was awarded an opportunity to serve on the board of the One Economy Foundation as a student director. The One Economy Foundation is a nonprofit organization founded and chaired by the First Lady of the Republic of Namibia. And to date, I serve on the board. Ladies and gentlemen, dear graduates, I went on to start an events company called Ehaveko Events, which hosts women empowerment gala dinners. And just last year, we organized our very first Namibia Engineering Week. I have not shared my ingrained love for reading, which I must share on. I've always been fascinated by the art of writing, and especially how authors are able to tell a story. It was through that I was inspired to try to put my thoughts on paper so that I could start my first blogging journey. That later translated into me writing for publications like the Namibian newspaper, the New Era newspaper, as well as Monochrome magazine. With my exposure as a radio presenter, I became an MC as well as a public speaker. Now, these are just some of the different paths that I have followed in my very short life. I'm 26 years old. And all of this was done as I was an engineering student at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. I was constantly juggling work and school. I would have a very strict schedule because you can imagine with all that was on my plate, I needed to keep a very strict schedule. And my life was run on a very strict calendar because engineering was very demanding. I would work my calendar to the T. To illustrate this point, I remember how during a typical school week, I would spend my mornings in the library before class, and then in the afternoons, I would meet with my business partners before I returned back to class to have meetings and so forth. I would then go straight back to class, and after my last class, would go to the hostel to take a nap till 5:30. Thereafter, I'd go to the dining hall before going to the library, and I'll stay there till 9 o'clock in the evening. And sometimes with studying and assignments, I'd have to stay till 11 o'clock in the engineering building. If you're an engineering student, I can imagine that the walls of the engineering building have become one of those where you know where the cracks are. This was my daily routine, and it was ingrained in my system. There was no rest during weekends either. I would work, and if it wasn't charity work, it was radio or business. There were times where I would be studying on a Friday night and my friends would be out having a jolly good time, probably at a club somewhere. And I would actually have to spend the time studying because I had to MC on the Saturday night thereafter. I had to capitalize on the Friday night to ensure that I got the studying in and I could get everything done in time. There was one specific time, though, that I constantly remember, and I'll never forget. I was set to MC the Namibia Annual Music Awards, and I had about 6 tests a week before the event. I was under so much pressure because I was literally between the engineering building, rehearsals, and the library. I recall an evening I called my father in tears because I was afraid of failing. I called him and I asked him to please come see me. He showed up with the usual, a new mug, a hug in a mug sachet, the coffee one, as well as a book. To date, I do not know if he just kept these in his office or how every time I had a breakdown, he always had them on hand and was so ready to come and see me. He came to school and comforted me, and he told me these words: in life, there will be trying moments, but you persevere, trusting that what is yours will be yours and what is not will pass you by. This was due to the fact that I was struggling to keep up with both work and school. I was under the impression that perhaps it may be best to let go of the MC gig with the Namibian Annual Music Awards. However, I have the world's best supportive system, and my parents honestly are God's gift to me. I do not stand here to depict and paint a picture of luxury and accolades and awards, but to tell you the truth about what happens behind the scenes. Not to scare you or make you feel any less able, but to have you understand that in life, there will be 3 things that you need to do. The one is you need to believe in yourself. You will have times where you will doubt your abilities. It is absolutely normal to feel that way. You want to stick to what you know. You'll want to stick to routine. You'll want to do what everybody else does and take the road more traveled. However, when they say that you're uniquely created, it means that your journey will not be like anybody else's. You will have to take chances and risks for the things that set your heart on fire. You'll have to choose to start. You'll have to believe in yourself before anybody else can do that for you. When the world says you cannot be an engineer who does charity and radio, you tell them, yes, I can. The second thing you have to learn is work hard. You have to do your 100,000 hours. Each and every one of you will have to put in the work, no exceptions. You'll have sleepless nights, you'll have to burn the midnight oil, and you'll have to go beyond the call of duty. You'll have to ensure that you carve out your niche and set yourself apart in your career. You'll have to strategize to ensure that you set your vision for life. You'll have to decide what your North Star is. The one thing that you must achieve for you to feel like you have actually lived an impactful, driven life. You'll have to work, and there'll be no shortcuts. The last thing that you'll have to learn is that you have to live a life of integrity. In all you do, do it with honesty. Do not take any shortcuts in life because, as my mother always says, what is done in the dark will always come to light. Do not take kickbacks and do not engage in corruption. Be a person of honesty because they say integrity is what you do when no one is watching. Ensure that the life you live behind closed doors reflects the life you portray in public. Strive to be consistent in your character and do not have two sides of you. Integrity is tested in time, and it is your duty to ensure that you live life by the book. We do not speak about integrity enough, and it stands to be one of the things that can steal years of hard work. If there is anything I hope you take with you today, it will be to live a life of integrity. Do not take what's not yours. Do not steal. Do not take shortcuts. Do not take cutbacks. Be the person you tell the world you are. As the famous quote by Marianne Williamson goes, one of my favorite quotes, our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. With that, I say thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and congratulations, class of 2019.
Another round of applause for Ms. Mavis Braga Elias, please.
All right, without wasting any time.